Alright, welcome back to the T2 Book Club. Today, we're going to be talking about Stephen King's Dr. Sleep. Really awesome book I just finished last night. And it's going to be a movie on November 8th, so I thought I'd make this video before I make the earlier book that I read. Get it out there so you guys know to go see it in theaters. And I was really psyched for it, and I just started looking at the cast on IMDb, and now I'm not really as psyched for the movie. And I think there may be a problem here. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. So this is a sequel to The Shining. If you've read The Shining, it's about a guy who's a little kid. He has psychic abilities to see ghosts and stuff in the Overlook Hotel. His dad's caretaker is played by Jack Nicholson in the movie. And he's like an alcoholic writer, and he freaks out, tries to kill his family, and they end up burning the house down at the end. So, this book, Stephen King said in the beginning, maybe at the end of it, he was saying like people would always come up to him when he's at these book signings and they ask him like, what would have happened, or where is Danny Torrance now? That's the kid. And he was thinking about like, what if he had went through Alcoholics Anonymous, or what if his dad had went through Alcoholics Anonymous? Would it have changed things? So he made him kind of following his dad's footsteps, but he turns it all around. He really hits rock bottom at this one point, and then he gets into AA. And he becomes an orderly at a hospital, and he turns his life around and stuff. And he mainly becomes an alcoholic to get rid of the psychic abilities, to like numb them, because he's always seeing these ghosts. And he has this friend from the first book, Dick Halloran, that teaches him to like put these ghosts in these lock boxes in his mind and keep up on the shelf. And that's the ghost from the Overlook that were like following him. So if you've ever read the Duma Key Stephen King book, that's Dick Halloran when he went to the Florida Keys. It's about another guy who like paints this ghost ship that it actually becomes reality and stuff because there's a ghost haunting it. That's a really good book too. But so the first part of the book, he meets up with Dick Halloran a couple times, and then he goes off to Florida. Then he like never sees him again. He finds out later that he died of old age or something. But so you got that part of the book. It's kind of like it reminds me of Chuck Palahniuk writing because it's about an alcoholic and his really like rock bottom situation. They explain at the end of it that he, for years and years, he never talks about it in Alcoholics Anonymous. Then he finally does, and everybody's like, nah, nobody even gives a shit because they've all done worse things. So it's kind of like saying that what you think is really bad isn't really as bad as you think it is. But the main part of the book is about this girl named Abra Stone, and it seems like she's like half Mexican. Or her grandma is named Conchella, and they talk in Latin. That's right, Latin, not Mexican. They speak Latin. So she's like at least half Latin, and they don't say anything about her being black. So then when I looked over here on the, let's see, Kylie Curran is playing her. So that's going to be this little girl that in my mind has been white this whole time. They even said she has blonde pigtails and stuff. Like, what? That's not what I imagined at all. This is what I imagined. I imagined the girl from the Skrillex video who's like mind controlling shit because she has this little nervous tick she does when she's doing her psychic stuff. Because she's like super powerful psychic. Danny Torrance says, as far as The Shining goes, he's a flashlight and she's a lighthouse. And she was like 14, I think is the oldest she ever got in the book. And it was like, she was still developing, like she wasn't even at her peak yet, and she has this nervous tick whenever she's doing her psychic stuff. She like rubs her mouth like this, like she's really concentrating and shit. It's really freaking out. Like she does this weird evil smile too, like she's really vengeful and has like she wants to hurt anybody that hurts her family, and she takes pleasure in getting revenge and shit. So that was pretty cool. It's a really good character, and I thought, well, if they do it right in the movie, it's gonna be a great movie. And then I see there's a black chick playing her, and I'm like, what? Okay, so let's go back and see who her mom is. Lucy. A white chick. So that would mean her dad would have to be black. Let's look at her dad. Oh, he's not even on here. Like, her dad's name was Dave? There's somebody on here named Dave. There's a dad at birthday party. Like, how she had the birthday party? That's where her dad was. He was there. Did they just forget to put him in here? And is this Violet McGraw? Is this supposed to be young Abra? Like she's white as a kid and she grows up to be black or half black? What the heck is going on with this casting? Like, I'm really starting to worry about this. Okay, so that could go really wrong. So anyway, this girl Abra, when she's a baby, she even has these psychic abilities, and she reaches out to Danny Torrance, and she says, "Hi, my name's Abra," or whatever, in his mind, or like she starts like writing stuff on his chalkboard, and when he's an orderly in his hospital, it's almost like she can like astrally project herself there and then pick it up and then write it, because later on she like takes on this kind of water manifestation of herself, sort of. And they do this thing it's really cool, like her and Danny are connected, and you find out later that they have a different connection. I'm not going to spoil that for you, but they do this thing, like imagine you're in a dark room and you're talking to somebody else through your mind, and you can see one window is like what one person sees, and behind you is another window what the other person sees, and in the middle there's this wheel, and they turn the wheel and it spins it around, and now you're seeing what they're seeing and they're seeing what you're seeing. So they talk about this whole like turn the wheel and you can like swap places, and it's kind of like one of those Freaky Friday things, you know, or Tom Hanks movie Big, like they touch the thing and they switch bodies. It's like a switch body thing. So she's like, she kind of gets kidnapped at one point, but then Danny switches with her and he like owns the kidnappers because he's an adult and he's smarter than they are or whatever. The thing about this book is, here's what makes it kind of different from most books, and I like it. The bad guys are constantly getting their ass kicked. It's kind of like Home Alone. Like, they're never really in any danger because this girl is so powerful. Kind of like Dragon Ball Z. Or, like, it's kind of like, they almost feel like they could do some shit because they're really rich and powerful. The bad guys are like this cult. They're kind of like gypsies or carnies or something. And they're constantly in these big caravans, and they're like old people that you would see on the road in Winnebagos and campers and shit, and they hang out in like campgrounds, and they're super rich though because they've lived for thousands of years. Some of them are so ancient that they're here before, like maybe like a little after dinosaur times or something they're talking about. So they live off of people that have this shining, and they suck their energy out like energy vampires. And if they torture them, they get better steam, as they call it. I should put this camera back on. So, there's this one kid, the baseball boy they call him. Well, I'm assuming is going to be Jacob Tremblay. This guy. So, they torture him to death, and he like gives them all the measles psychically, somehow. And since they're immune to disease, but since they give it to them psychically, it can hurt them. And they start breaking out in the measles. So the whole time they're going after Abra, they're constantly like dying off because this kid gave them the measles. So like, I mean, you just wait it out. They're gonna die anyway. It's like so, the bad guys get owned so hard in this. It's weird. But the main bad guy's named Rose the Hat, and they all have these weird kind of, I don't know, circus names or whatever, or pirate names. So she on the cover of the book, you see that black chick, right? Now, I didn't really see her as black when I read the book. I kind of imagined her as being like Mad Moxie from Borderlands, because she has this weird top hat she always wears, and it's kind of like tilted at a weird angle that shouldn't be possible or something. So Rose the Hat is black on the cover of the book, but then she's white in the movie. So I don't know how to imagine her. It kind of reminded me recently, there was, you know, the Harry Potter movies and books that they made a play about it, and in England. And the girl who plays Hermione Granger is black. So then J.K. Rowling came out and said, like, well, I never said in the books that she was white. You just assumed she was. And like, well, yeah, but you made like 7 or 8 movies about her being white. Well, that's just weird. I don't know. You get confused about who people are. And there's this guy, Grandpa Flick, and he's like a really good, is he the locator guy? They all have like different psychic abilities. And let's see, one of them can like turn invisible, sort of. That's Silent Sari, I think. And then there's Snakebite Andy. She's the one to catch her in a movie theater. She was like always making people go to sleep, and she would rob them. So that's her ability. She can just say, I think you should take a nap, and then just like fall asleep. So that's how the bad guys work. They have this big troop, and they go around place to place looking for these people with steam and sucking it out of them, and they keep them in these canisters. When they get low, they can like take it out of these cans, And it talks about they went to 9/11 when 9/11 happened, and they were all like just absorbing the steam from, because there was thousands of people die. When there's ever like a big event, a traumatic, or thousands of people die, there's going to be a certain percentage of them are going to have steam, so they can suck that steam out without even having to like kidnap them and steal it. So that reminded me of the Dark Tower series. Whenever I read a Stephen King book, I always think about how does this relate to the Dark Tower universe, or does it? Because some of his books do and some of them don't. Like Rose Matter, I don't think that's in the Dark Tower series, but or maybe the Dreamcatcher wouldn't be, because it's kind of different. I don't know. Most of his books take place in Maine, around Derry, Maine, Castle Rock, Bangor, or it seems like Colorado lately. A lot of them are in Colorado. It's kind of like Anne Rice. She always writes about New Orleans. But like Danny gets this job at this place called Teeny Town, and it has like this oversized choo-choo train for kids to ride on. I don't know why. It seemed really random. But it reminded me of the Charlie the Choo-Choo from Dark Tower Book 3. And they find it when they go into the... If you don't know what the Dark Tower is, it's kind of like a world that all the other worlds sit on, sort of. Where they have like this guy that's supposed to be like an alternate version of King Arthur. And he had this whole group of gunslingers that are like the Knights of the Round Table. And it has these beams that go out, and like these psychic people are like chipping away at these beams that all have the Dark Tower as the hub in the middle, and they call that thing the wheel, which is kind of like the wheel that they turned in their mind. You know, it all kind of relates, all goes back to itself. And the True Knot, that's the people, the bad guys. They're called the True Knot, and they have this whole chant that they do about being what's tied cannot be untied and whatever. But they kind of remind me of the people from the Dark Tower that are like half animal. I think they call them the Regulators. Some of them are like birdmen, some of them are like wolfmen maybe, or Anubis, like from Egyptian kind of lore, kind of half man, half animals. They just seem like that kind of evil kind of thing. And at one point he said their thoughts were reptilian when they were trying to read their mind, so maybe they're like the reptile versions of Regulators. There's also a quote where he said that there are other worlds than these, which I think was from the Dark Tower, but I think he was talking about the ghost universe where he can see ghosts and stuff. That's what he was talking about. Let's see. There's something that they did in the book. They would go to a motel and they would say, you need to four-wall this motel. I don't know what the fuck they were doing or what that is. I don't know what four-walling is. It seems like that would... If you have a motel, most motels are kind of laid out like this, maybe? Like an L shape? Maybe they put two more walls on the other end and they kind of like fortify it off or something, like a castle? I don't know what the hell that means. Let's see. So yeah, so Abra, she kind of is like the girl from Stranger Things, but cooler. So I think if they do this right, she could be a really popular character in fiction. Crow Daddy, he kind of reminded me of Rob Zombie's actor from was it House of a Thousand Corpses, that bald guy that looked like a clown, recently died. Is it House of a Thousand Corpses? Is that the Rob Zombie one? Yeah, this guy right here, that's who I thought Crow Daddy seemed like. Or the guy from Walking Dead. You know, the people that put the zombie faces on, and he's like the second in command next to Alpha. Kind of remind me of that guy, maybe. But he got a pretty good actor to play him. He's a pretty creepy looking dude. Zan McLarnon. Wait, that's not him. That's Crow Daddy? Okay, Grandpa Flick. That's the one that looks kind of freaky. Yeah, this guy. So Grandpa Flick, maybe he was the locator, but he's when it died pretty early on. I don't know. I mean, these bad guys were not very bad at all. I mean, they really tortured the shit out of this little baseball kid, but other than that, they were not very scary. They were just getting their asses handed to them. So, yeah, at the end of the book, after they kicked everybody's ass, Abra's talking about like how her powers are still developing, and she like fucked up her mom's china cabinet and like broke all of her plates. And he like they can send like pictures to each other in their mind, and he like sends her a picture of her like in a junkyard, like throwing washing machines and shit around and blowing up cars. He's like, yeah, just go go work out with your powers and hang out in a junkyard and blow shit up. And she's like, oh, damn, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I'm going to do that. So that's pretty good. Pretty good book there. Dr. Sleep. I'm very excited for it. The guy at work commented on it. It's like, oh, you're reading Dr. Sleep. I'm like, yeah, man, there's going to be a movie here on the 8th. A lot of people comment on my books because I've been reading like a shitload of books at work. I've been going through like, it seems like 2 a week. But that's it.